we're back. Episode 8, Beloved Infidel. I actually like this episode.
I do too. You learn so much about the Crane family.
Yeah, you get a lot of sort of backstory. And you get something for Frasier and Martin to sort of relate to each other with.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I think it's such an organic, even though, obviously it's uncomfortable, but it's such an organic way for them to bridge that topic because Martin's kind of obviously known that they have that in common, but Frasier didn't,
Well, I don't think Martin knew because I don't think he knew Lilith cheated on Frasier until this episode.
Oh, maybe I glossed over that part. Well, let's get into it.
Frasier's at the radio station in the middle of a call. He's having a hard time understanding what Danielle is saying due to her French accent. He unhelpfully ends the call and goes into Roz's booth. It's weird that Frasier can't understand French in this episode.
Okay. Take the words out of my mouth because he speaks perfect French.
But he doesn't know moteur.
Okay, Frasier, I am not buying this.
Yes, it's a bit of an out of character moment, I feel.
Yes, maybe he was
one of the times where they seem to sacrifice character for the joke.
Yeah, it happens, but I'm not mad about it because it is kind of a funny little gag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Frasier compliments Roz's outfit before teasing her about the type of guy she dates. Niles arrives. Yet again, he doesn't remember who Roz is. I love this running joke in season 1
it's
where
so
he just forgets Roz every time he meets her.
I just think it's funny when he roasts her like that. Like, he doesn't do it on purpose, but it's just so funny, and Roz just takes it every time. And what I love about this episode, and I wrote it in my notes, is I said Niles earned his paycheck in this episode. He was on fire. Like, you see him in such a funny way. And Frasier just kind of Kelsey allows Sir David Hyde Pierce to just
He should be a sir.
He is a sir. I always refer to him as Sir David Hyde Pierce. He will always. I've knighted you, David Hyde Pierce. But I just think I was just like, his comedic timing was perfect, and he really takes advantage of the rigidity of the character. Like, Niles is rigid, but it's in a funny way, but not in like a awkward way. But it's really good. I liked it. It was really funny.
Yeah. Yeah, so Niles and Frasier were going to attend a lecture, but it got cancelled, so they decided to go to dinner instead. I love the setup because this is one of those jokes which has a callback later on where Frasier's like, this is a perfect opportunity for a couple of guys to go to a sports bar and have a couple of brewskis.
And Niles reply,
like, right, what shall we do?
You see how
self-aware.
In each season, we're reminded of like this battle of masculinity. Like they're like fully aware that they're not, tough like that, and they always are trying to prove. But then sometimes they just say, "Yeah, no, we're not that."
Yeah, it's not the type of guy they are. So at the restaurant, Niles is fretting about whether his car will get a ticket. Frasier tries to calm him down and orders a drink for himself.
I mean, I could just nip back to Crabtree and Evelyn and buy a bar of lavender soap just to be safe.
Sit down. Lavender soap. For God's sake, you're a man. You'd look ridiculous.
May I get your drink?
Fuzzy Navel blended nice and frothy, please.
Niles declines a drink as he's driving. What is a fuzzy navel?
Oh, it's a delicious drink. Peach.
Peach? I love peach.
Oh, definitely.
I think it was a shot.
Peach schnapps and orange juice.
Mm-hmm. I drank a lot. Had a lot in college, but I think I think when I was in my 20s, I did drink more like fruity drinks.
Segue to, if you don't have a taste for like wine or whiskey, I think something that tastes like juice is a good entry level.
Bourbon, where I am now.
Yeah.
When I go to a restaurant, I like to get a nice cocktail of some sort, like something fancy sounding.
Yeah. I do think it's funny though, because classically both Frasier and Niles drink things like sherry, which I think it's like the opposite of an entry-level drink, right? So like the Fuzzy Navel is so 22-year-old girl, and sherry is like not, and they have a palate for both of them apparently.
I've tried sherry. I've tried to like sherry, but I don't like the sweet sherry, and the dry sherry is just a bit too dry, I think, for me.
There are mid-range ones, but we'll have to get to that once we explore the Crane brothers' sherry preferences throughout the show. We'll have some drink recommendations on future episodes.
Oh, that'd be good. Just some for me.
Yeah. I'll help you pick a sherry that's like in the middle.
Yeah, that'd be good. Because I do typically like a drier drink. Like I prefer white wine over red. But I don't know. We call sherry a pera in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to get a nice bottle of sherry.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll give you some recommendations. I'll put some together. There are some mid-range though, that are more balanced and kind of have like a nuttier flavor, more so than sweet or dry. So yeah, we'll explore.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
So the boys notice Martin is at a nearby table with a woman around his age. Frasier notes that Martin said he was going to Duke's for a beer with the boys. Caught him on a date. Martin turns and they hide behind their menus. Niles narrates what's happening from behind his menu.
Joke. I love this joke so much.
I know. I'll tell you when to look now. Not now. Not now. Now. Not now.
Oh, not even that part. I like the part where he comes
No.
to the realization that if
Yeah.
they're at the same restaurant as Martin,
Yeah.
that's
Not a very good restaurant.
Oh God, it's so funny.
I think I like this entire scene, I think.
Such great acting. Such great acting.
The Crane Boys.
Yes, so he narrates what's happening from behind his menu, from them talking to each other, holding hands, and the woman collapsing into tears. A typical Crane first date. The woman gets up and passes them to leave, and Niles recognises that it's Marion Lawler, a family friend who their parents had a falling out with back when they were kids. I wonder if Martin's trying to patch things up when Frasier tells Niles he should have a drink.
No, Niles, maybe you should have that martini after all.
I can't, Frasier. I'm driving.
Not anymore. They just towed your car.
The next day, Eddie's rolling around on the couch. Daphne rouses on Eddie and puts him on the floor. Eddie stays put until she leaves and then he starts rolling on the couch again. Frasier arrives home and Eddie jumps off the couch before Frasier spots him. Frasier's pleased that his rules about the couch are taking hold.
I've never met a pet that did not want to be on furniture. Like, I mean, I think it's so realistic to expect pets not to be on them, right? Like, that's just what they do.
I agree, our cats are always on the couch.
Yeah.
In fact, they're probably on the couch right now.
I think there's something don't fight. And I think an animal's instinct to be on a couch is one of them.
Comfortable. Martin's watching the game at a neighbour's place when Niles arrives with a photo album and his journal. Since they saw Martin with Marion Lawler the night before, Niles has gone through his album and boyhood journal to try and piece together what's happened, and has come to the conclusion that Martin and Marion has had an affair. Frasier's incredulous, so Niles presents his evidence, pointing out photos in the album where a person's been cut out. Daphne comes over to look at the photos, with Niles stealing a quick sniff of her hair as she does so, and agrees with Frasier, not believing that Martin could have an affair.
I love Niles' journal. Niles' journal, and especially the joke we get here about how he can tell when it was because of his writing.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny. I had saved my journals from when I was younger because I could only imagine what the heck I was writing. I know I distinctly remember writing a lot of journal entries about the Backstreet Boys. Like, I do remember my obsession with Backstreet Boys. So I would love to have read my journals from
journals. I want to know which Backstreet Boy was your favorite.
AJ.
AJ, interesting. I feel like Nick was the popular one.
I think he was. Was Backstreet Boys in Australia?
Yes, they were very big in Australia. I wasn't a fan personally, but I do remember that they were a big thing.
Yeah, Laura, you seem above you seem above all of the boys. So I don't blame you.
I do remember all the boy bands.
I was busy reading.
I actually probably was. I was a big reader when I was a kid.
I, however, was planning my wedding to AJ.
Niles has just run with this theory. Like, he's just gone home and he's dug out like an old album and his old journal and he's gone through it all and he's just like, aha, this is what's happened.
I know. It's like, have I ever misunderstood something so badly and it wasn't at all? I don't think I've ever was at a Niles level, but I think I probably had misunderstood things and then later found out I was wrong.
Yeah,
it's such a conclusion to come to as well.
Yeah. It's so interesting too if you look at if you take a zoom out, right? Martin was a detective. His sons are terrible at detective work.
Yeah.
True. Every time they try to be detective, they fail.
I do like how Daphne's all like, ooh, photos. I think everyone's a bit like that when you see old photos. You just have to have a look at them.
Yeah.
I love how near like kind of the midpoint of this scene when Martin wants to talk to the boys and he sends Daphne out and she's just like she wants the gossip. She's like bitter that she has to leave the room.
Daphne, would you give me a minute alone with these two?
Of course, I completely understand. That's right, send the help to the room. I never get to hear any good stuff anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, oh, yeah, send the help to the room.
Back.
All right. Niles goes to call Aunt Vivian to get the dirt when Martin arrives home. Daphne immediately tells him their theory, and Martin asks Daphne to leave the room, to her annoyance. I do like how instead of like just beating around the bush, Daphne just comes out and says, "Boys think you had an affair."
She just says it.
Truth telling.
No pussyfooting around it. It's just, this is what happened.
I know. No, get to it already. Just deal with it.
Martin comes clean. He had an affair. He says he's not proud of it and doesn't want to talk about it further. He leaves, leaving Niles and Frasier to wonder what they'll do. See, this is the second part of the joke from before, where Niles is like, this is the time where families will rally around each other for support. What will we do?
Yeah, exactly. And I love how they take it upon themselves that it's something that they need to do. Like they just interject themselves. They just make it about them.
Mm.
Because I feel like as a child, like, I don't know, yeah, I was raised not to like question your parents' decision. So like,
Yeah.
I would not make it my business. I would never make my parents' business my business.
No, I don't think I would either. And honestly, if I found out that one of my parents had an affair when I was a kid, I don't know what I would think as an adult, honestly.
I think that's a very interesting, I think it's very interesting because I think as an adult learning about it might be a different feeling than a child or like you see it, like you see your parent like kissing somebody, something. So I wonder how that journey is from those two different perspectives of like knowing it as an adult and having perspective and time, and then like being young and maybe hearing about it, like if it's a big scandal or something.
So at Cafe Nervosa, Niles joins Frasier briefly to see how he's doing. Frasier is upset by the news. Niles says that Martin and Hester seem to have got over it and Frasier should do. Niles offers Frasier to join him at his Healing with Humour support group, but Frasier turns him down, just needing a night on his own. So Frasier seems to take the whole affair thing a bit harder than Niles. Niles seems to just... Yeah, Niles seems okay with it. Like, he seems to be like, okay, this happened, let's move on, when Frasier seems very hung up on it.
Relationship, right? Niles is always the one that processes things a little more stoically, and Frasier gets in his own head about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even going back to episode 1, right? When they're talking about how to handle Martin, Niles is the one who's like about to put him in a home.
Yeah.
So it's very I don't know, it's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
At home, Eddie is rolling madly on the couch when Frasier enters but fails to get off the couch in time. Frasier's upset that yet another thing has happened behind his back as Eddie runs off.
Now he's just being dramatic.
Of course he is. Eddie's not doing much, he's just rolling on the couch.
Doing his thing. He's like, look, I took your pictures with the antlers, like, just let me have this.
Doorbell rings and it's Marion Lawler. Frasier's cold, which Marion picks up on. Frasier reveals that Martin told him about the affair. Marion apologizes and says that both she and Martin forgave their spouses. She says goodbye and leaves Frasier with the news that it was his mother and not his father who had the affair, and he's left upset with the news. Later, Martin is on the floor doing his exercises with Daphne, who's regaling him with a story about her family. They finish up and Frasier enters. He asks if they can talk. Martin is resistant and Frasier wants to know why Martin didn't tell him the truth. Martin says it was none of his business and Frasier says it happens to a lot of people. In fact, it happened to him.
For your information, this sort of thing happens to a lot of people. But if it's any consolation, I know exactly how you feel. I never told you this, but Lilith did the same thing to me.
Lilith had an affair?
You know what? You were right, and I missed that part of this conversation. He didn't know that had happened to Frasier. For some reason, I figured like Frasier's business was everybody's business.
Mm.
True. Like, no, that makes sense.
That's so him. And I actually I think I almost kind of glossed over that while rewatching this episode. I think I just kind of had this baseline assumption that everybody knew what Frasier's business was, and that Martin was the one that was a little more private.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's an event that actually happened in Cheers. It was quite a dramatic event, actually.
Oh,
Considering that.
And now I have to go watch it in Cheers.
Yeah, so basically Lilith leaves Frasier for this other guy, and Frasier climbs out onto a ledge and threatens to kill himself to get Lilith to come back.
That's right. Okay.
But then decides that it's fine, Lilith can leave. And then later on, Lilith decides the guy she's with is nutso and escapes the ecopod. Comes back to the bar, and the guy follows, and he threatens everyone in the bar with a gun.
Oh my lord!
There's a lot of gunplay in Cheers.
Yeah, my gosh.
Intense moments. Always funny
But
how
she comes back to Frasier just as Frasier's about to have a relationship with another woman.
You know, Lilith does that a lot. She does it, you know, she kind of uses Frasier kind of like as a security blanket and kind of, you know, in his life. That's not fair. But we all know I'm pro Frasier, so.
Yeah. I love Lilith as a character. She's phenomenal in Cheers.
Yeah, I think she's just spot on. I can't wait to see her.
Yeah.
When she does show up. She shows up in season 1, right? Yeah, she does.
She does.
It's either 1 or early season 2.
Season 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll get to her soonish. I also love how Daphne's just telling a story about her family.
All my brothers do. Well, except for my brother Billy. He came home one day and announced he hated the smell of fish and was going to teach ballroom dancing. And he did. And he does. He's my mum's favourite. Dad mostly flicks the crust off his kidney pie at him.
I love the Moon family. They're kooky.
Yeah. This one's in particular is about her brother Billy. How he didn't want to work for Docs. Wanted to be a ballroom dancer. I do like Daphne's stories about her family. It's just, they're crazy.
Yeah.
She's a good storyteller.
Yeah.
Kind of adds to.
We had one last episode as well, where she was talking about her Grammy Moon and her granddad.
Yep.
It kind of connects the dots too. Like, you're like, oh, that's why you are the way you are sometimes.
So Martin starts laughing about the fact that Lilith had an affair, and Frasier points out it's not so unrealistic that someone else other than him found her attractive.
Lilith? I found her attractive. I mean, is it so inconceivable that another man might find her attractive as well?
I guess.
Martin tells Frasier not to hate his mother for the affair, saying he wasn't an easy person to live with at the time it happened. That luckily they were able to put it behind them, but at times it hurt. Martin lied about the affair to protect the memory his sons have of their mother.
Mm-hmm.
He probably wouldn't have been an easy person if he used to be a vice detective. He used to work.
And Niall said like he would sit and like wait a lot, and remember like he made in the one episode he referenced like how he used to make his thermos. So he must be home, and that must have been stressful for her to have, because she was doing research and like raising the kids, right? So
yeah.
Plus, I mean, look at the kinds of things that he investigated, whether or not they were solved. I mean, there's obviously we'll get to the one about the cold case, but you know, he dealt with a lot of stuff, and it's really hard to keep that compartmentalized, I imagine.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot of the times it's sort of mentioned a bit flippantly as a bit of a joke, the kind of stuff he would have seen, but it would have been really hard to deal with at the time, I reckon.
Mm-hmm.
Like the murders.
Yeah.
I think later on in an episode there's one where he's recognised but remembered by a guy, and he's like, "You're the one who found the head."
Yeah.
Dark joke.
It is. Frasier understands Martin's reasoning, but wishes that Martin told him. Martin asks if he'll tell Freddie about Lilith's affair when he's older, and Frasier is silent in response. Before Martin goes back to his TV program, Frasier has one last mystery to solve: the woman cut out of all the pictures. Martin points out that Hester is missing in all of them, having cut herself out because of an unflattering outfit. Frasier remarks that since Martin moved in, they were looking for something in common and finally found it.
Yeah. Wish it was a birthmark.
So do I.
It was at this point that I realized, like, I think I understood the title of the episode, like I think that Frasier's mom and Lilith are the beloved infidels in each of these individual lives. At least that's how I took it, because it's like, how do you live after such a betrayal? And it's like but you still love them, and they have meaning in your life, and maybe not, everybody sees them the same way that you do because they treated on you, and other people like Frederick probably just looks at Lilith as, that's my mom, she's wonderful,
Yeah.
but she did
Well,
something. Yeah.
Well, in Cheers, Frasier does take Lilith back.
Oh, okay.
It she didn't end up showing up in the series until again after that, mainly because she had other scheduling conflicts, I think, with a play she was doing. But he does take her back briefly for the remainder of Cheers, and then breaks up with her, I think,
Yeah.
shortly after the show ends, and moves to Seattle.
Between the start of Frasier, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So you see how it's complicated, it's there's infidelity and moving past it. It seems like a complicated thing to navigate even after the event has happened. So,
well, what's interesting to me too, with this kind of knowledge that Frasier didn't know what happened with his parents, is that Frasier and Martin dealt with this ultimately in the same way, but he didn't even know that he was modeling it.
Yeah, there was some kind of like generationalness there that I saw, like a cycle there, and I wonder, like, was he able to get through it because Marty was such an upstanding man and like modeled the behaviors of how to handle when things are difficult. I wonder if like Marty gave him the tools to navigate this, even though he didn't even know what his father may have been battling. Because being the right person, having good character, like, that's also something that Frasier has, and I think he gets it from Marty.
Yeah.
We don't, especially at this part, we don't know enough about Hester to know what kinds of, I guess, moral framework Frasier would have gotten from her. But we certainly know where Marty stands, and so it's interesting to see son repeat father, even if they didn't know this commonality.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
It was such a great, so and when you see the two men kind of having this conversation, and it kind of calms down some of that, like, I felt like Frasier kind of got some closure from even some of from the episode before, of like, because sometimes when you do the right thing, you want to be validated, and I felt like his dad validated him and kind of showed some love that he might have needed from just all these challenges that he's navigating as the character Frasier is navigating. And to kind of have father show him some love, I was happy for Frasier.
Oh, yeah, and I wonder if it was such a crisis for Frasier, because he says constantly throughout the series that he gets his ethics from his father. So if his father's done something unethical, like have an affair, it basically would have shook Frasier to his core, because that's where he gets his ethics from.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was so deep. It was so deep.
No, it's true. Like we really learn a lot about the Crane family dynamics, and really how Martin models things for his sons, or at least for Frasier. I mean, Niles is on his own journey.
Yeah,
and we still love him,
of course.
Niles has his own issues that he deals with.
He's still sniffing hair. We gotta.
Yeah, he does that for a long time. Oh God, I love Niles. But I love Frasier as well. Like,
oh yeah,
Niles is like the standout of the show, but Frasier himself is a really robust, wonderful character in his own right. Like there's a lot of complexity to this episode with how he did have this internal struggle, because he obviously holds his father to a certain regard, and had that tested. Like, his father says, you already had problems with me, that's why I told you it was me. But Frasier obviously still has a deep respect for him.
Can I also comment on one other thing about that scene when Marty was kind of being vulnerable? I liked how they put Marty in sweats and a t-shirt, because normally kind of like in a plaid or a button up, and it kind of made him like a vulnerable, just like a human being, and it was like they kind of monochromatic outfit, and he, he doesn't have like the father look about him. He just seems just like a person who has been hurt, speaking to another
Yeah.
person who's been hurt. So I kind of picked up on that too, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I see that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a really good episode, and it has some really good, strong bonding between between Martin and Frasier that the series needed at this point, because
Yeah.
up until now we've just had them butting heads a lot, where now we've got them having a common ground.
Yeah, it's the evolution from the early season growing pains of their new dynamic and their new living situation, and now it's let's explore their actual relationship beyond, hey, I hate your furniture.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, good episode.
good. Mm-hmm.
Favorite bit?
Bit has to be that joke at the restaurant when Niles is just like second guessing why they even went there because Martin's eating there.
Yeah.
It's not even remotely close to the emotional core of the episode, but it's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the double use of the what will we do?
Joke callbacks.
I love it when they do that.
Oh, I like the part when Niles, I don't know exactly how it was, but like when Niles was like trying to excuse himself from being at the restaurant with Frasier when they were spying on his dad, and then Frasier goes, "You were there too."
Yes. Niles does that a lot, I've noticed. He'll do that. He'll be like, Frasier saw you, or Frasier did this, and you were there too.
Funny, because like you can just see like he probably has been doing that to Frasier so many years, just as like
It's such youngest sibling dynamic. Like, you just put the blame on the older brother.
You were there too. I just love that. It's funny bit.
Well, last night, Frasier saw you having dinner with Marion Lawler.
You were with me.
Good episode.
Indeed, another good one.
Coming up next in season 1. So this episode specifically was a really good segue from the previous one. The Call Me Irresponsible was a good tee up to this one. All right, next up, episode 9 is Selling Out. Okay.
First appearance of BB Glazer.
Oh my goodness.
My girlie, I am Team BB. That's my girl. I love her.
Oh,
I love BB.
this is going to be very fascinating. I might have the controversial take here.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't love BB. She alternately infuriates and scares me. I think she's actually my least favorite character on the whole show.
Oh my God.
And that says something, because I mean, we got a lot of contenders for that. So I look forward to a little bit of a spicier discussion when we have that episode, because I truly cannot stand her.
Wow. That'll be fun.
Yeah, she's a nightmare. And honestly, like every time I watch those episodes, I'm just like, oh, can we just get past this? Yeah.
Well, for that, tune in next time.
Bye.
Bye.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Good night, Seattle. We love you.